Sometimes what you feel in your gut is what you ignore all the time. You just go for what you've learned and what you've had programmed in your mind of, oh, no, this is what I should be thinking, rather than what is my heart saying? My heart is saying something completely different.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are changing the way that business happens today.
Wow, that's heavy.
My name is Tyler Kelly. I'm here with my co-host Leanne Buchanan, and we're coming to you tonight from Slam Agency St. Louis. Very special guest with us tonight. Who, Pascal, I've never actually pronounced your last name.
It's okay.
So tell me how to pronounce it.
Sure. Oh, I thought that was, I wanted to hear you say it.
Oh, you want
Yeah,
me to
go ahead. Do me a favor.
All right, here we go. We are here with a very special guest, Pascal Beauboeuf.
Beauboeuf. But it's close.
All right.
It's close.
All right.
Or the regular, really boring way of saying is Beauboeuf.
Beauboeuf.
Yeah,
Buff?
Beauboeuf.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm Haitian.
Welcome.
Sac passe.
Happy to have you here.
Lovely.
My girl. Come on now. Thanks for letting me be here. It's weird being on the other side of the table. I'm usually where you guys are. You know what I mean? So this is cool.
So
Usually-
Pascal.
So pressure. Go. I get to chill in the cut. Let's go.
So for those that don't know who you are,
Yeah.
you are not only a personality, as we can tell, but you're also the host of a really awesome news show and conversation show. And how does it feel to now be the guest?
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, it's weird. It's weird. I'm used to steering the ship in conversations, so it's kind of cool to just sit back and kind of chill, relax, and just be a part of the ride. So I'm looking forward to it. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. Well, we're happy to indulge. One of the things that we like to do here is not just talk about the innovation and the thing that you are building, but to focus on the person behind the innovation. And a lot of what you're doing is really kind of perfecting the art of conversation and thinking about how we can, through dialogue, go a little bit deeper on issues that maybe people aren't talking about in the way you're talking about it. So talk to us how you even begin to approach your take on a particular topic of the day.
Wow, wow, that's a good question. Honestly, a lot of what I do is lots of coffee, lots of Monster drinks, and I just go. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, it's really a gut reaction to a lot of things. So whenever I find out about a specific topic, a lot of times I'm doing some extra research. And then, of course, I have my guys on my team that help me out, like my panelists as well, that are doing more of a deep dive into certain things. But a lot of times, I'm doing on what I honestly, truly feel in my gut. Of course, if there's extra, stories or extra information that we don't have at face value after digging deep, then, usually I'm able to assess an idea or assess an opinion about certain things. Like, my show is very opinion based. It rides heavily on my opinion and my two panelists as well. So yeah, really it's just like my gut reaction on a lot of things. What's right and wrong is usually what you feel in your gut right off the bat. You shouldn't even have to think about it, right?
I love what you said about the gut in terms of that driving how you approach things. I think with entrepreneurs and innovators, oftentimes it's a feeling and it's very hard to describe until you've validated the concept or you've been able to do a little bit of research and know that there's something there's some type of tension or friction you can address. But then there's opinions. Yeah. And, there's the old saying that opinions are neither right nor wrong. They merely are opinions.
Yeah.
In this new day and age where media seems to be less fact-based and more opinion, how do you kind of walk the line of being someone with an opinion and a platform, but also making sure that you're having a high degree of responsibility with what you're saying?
Right. That's a really, really well-crafted question, by the way. Man, I need to have you around more often. Write my questions for me. So, honestly, I try to keep myself as purple as possible, if that makes any sense. So you know how it's like things are very red or blue a lot of times nowadays because we're in this very heavily political climate right now. Sorry for bringing that particular subject up, but I try to keep, I'm pretty blue when it comes to my decisions and what I think, but I try to keep it pretty purple when it comes to the show. Why? Because I have people who are watching the show that are hardcore left or hardcore right, or some people who are right in the middle. I'm lucky enough to have the people that I have on the show, not only just my panelists, Jack and Tom, but having the guests that I have on the show too, that are all walks of life, that have all different opinions. So we're able to sit at a table and actually have a conversation. Whether I agree with them or not, we're both getting our opinions out, our point of views out at the same time, so that the listener, the viewer, that kind of thing, can assess and put together whatever they want, right? Sometimes for me, I've also noticed that sometimes my opinion changes by the end of the conversation. Sometimes I'm like, nah, it's supposed to be this way. And it's like, no, this way. But then once the facts are put out and all that, it starts to change your mind, because I know that a lot of people are very opinion-based, but they don't look at the facts. And they ignore the facts, or they refuse to see the actual facts because they're worried about going over to the dark side for 2 seconds or something like that. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm willing to go there. I'm willing to listen and go, okay, I see that point, because not everybody is truly red or blue. We're all pretty purple when it comes to it, if that makes any sense.
Nothing is black and white. It's always shades of gray.
It's a lot of gray. Whole lot of gray.
Or purple. I like purple. I've always liked purple.
I love purple.
And when you mentioned that opinion quote, I saw Pascal smiling because I thought you were going to say opinions are like the other opinion quote, the explicit quote.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's got one.
Everyone's got one.
So that's the thing, and that's what I've noticed, that with the show, I've been lucky enough to do this, Monday through Friday, every morning, 3 hours a day. And I get to have people who are calling in that all have different opinions about things, vastly different. And it's so fascinating to me,
It's interesting because just in the media landscape, it is either one or the other,
yep.
Right? Red or blue. And you're attempting to, get out there in a way that's like, let's just have the conversation. Because
right.
I think like a lot of people feel like they're not allowed to talk anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it sounds like those conversations are happening on your show.
Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. There are some people that get a little too crazy, and there's a certain time and place for that, of course. But yeah, it's a platform. It's a place for everyone to talk, agree to disagree. And the thing is like, we're not only talking about political stuff. We're talking about everything. It could be everything from what Beyonce wore yesterday to some crazy sex scandal to, you see what I'm saying? But it's all out there for everyone to talk and put in their personal opinions about things,
Yeah, I think that this idea of dialogue as a lost art form is something that I'd love to kind of, hone in on a little bit more, because it's one thing to just talk shop, talk small, but it's another thing to really create meaningful dialogue on topics that are important, topics that are impacting the community, topics that, people often don't want to talk about. We've been having some conversations about, what is the color of justice? What is the status of the way in which we engage as people from different backgrounds and ethnicities? What are some of the topics that you wish had more of a place in public discourse today?
Wow. I feel like there's so many things I could say, to be really honest. I really, really wish that there was more talks about, we're going to go there. Fine. I wish there was more conversations and more things tapped on the social injustices that are going on in the country to begin with. You know, I know we talked about Evergreen, so I know if this has to be edited out, I'm sorry. But when it comes to stuff like George Floyd, Eric Gardner, those kind of conversations, I feel like things are just kind of tapped on and then and just thrown away. Or you get, you know, certain media junkets that are sitting there saying like one side of the story. You don't get the full side of the story. So there's certain things like that I feel like that are being very washed over and walked over, glanced over, and just saying, oh, these guys are just, you know, tyrannic protesters or rioters, instead of like, hey, they're actually trying to get their voices heard for a very specific reason. So I wish that there would be more talk about that, and not just like, okay, we're gonna just pull at everybody's heartstrings, but actually have a conversation about it. Actually talk about things, rather than it just being, oh, it's just something, and let's see all these crazy people throwing rocks and vandalizing things. Like, let's actually have a forum. Let's actually have a conversation. It doesn't exist right now.
I think you hit on a really good point, which is the idea that, you know, you're perfecting your craft, which is the art of conversation. And very often we don't look at what are the key elements that it takes to have an effective dialogue. Yeah. So you're an expert. I mean, this is what you do. What would you say are some of the key elements to having effective dialogue? For me, I think you need to speak more or speak less than you listen. You've got 2 ears. You should be listening more and listening with empathy and listening with intention. But, you know, talk to us about what makes a good dialogue really effective.
Speaking from your heart, listening with your heart instead of listening with your mind. And like I said in the very beginning, it's really about your gut. Sometimes what you feel in your gut is what you ignore all the time. You just go for what you've learned and what you've had programmed in your mind of, oh, no, this is what I should be thinking, rather than, wait, what is my heart? What is my heart saying? My heart is saying something completely different than this. And I guess that's what I've been approaching everything. It sounds weird, but the show really goes by feeling, or at least I approach the show with feeling. You know, especially like, yeah, you know, I might have Tyler on the show, and yeah, I might have a bunch of questions like written out for him, but then he might come in and have a different vibe, something completely different. Maybe he doesn't want to talk about his podcast. Maybe he doesn't want to talk about, you know, his marketing agency. So it's like, okay, let me feel him out. Let's see what's going on. Let's talk. Instead of it being, okay, here are my questions that are, you know, beautifully written and wonderful. All right, you know, we're gonna have a conversation. This is gonna feel like we're just having a cup of water and a mug of coffee, and we're just chatting it up like two boys just having a good time. And that's how I've approached it in that way. And trust me, there are plenty of other amazing conversationalists out there. That's just my approach. It's all about feeling. It's all about heart when it comes down to it. And most of the time, whenever you do that, that's when you really get the good stuff out of people, in my personal opinion.
Well, speaking of the good stuff, what are some of your favorite interviews that you've done? I know you've had some pretty amazing ones. And just for the audience, Pascal's on his way to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? And we'll give everyone an opportunity to subscribe later.
Oh, please, yeah.
But this is the YouTube influencer sensation. Pascal.
About to blow up. Watch out, y'all.
After that, we'll have you back on it and see how life has changed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll be wearing Yeezys and full on just looking like a ridiculous human being. I'm sorry. Yeah. So interviews. I mean, I've had so many, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, like just recently I had an interview with Burton Gilliam. He's one of the surviving cast members from the hit movie Blazing Saddles. And he was just talking about how he used to train with Muhammad Ali. Mm-hmm. And throughout the entire interview was him talking about his time boxing and training with one of the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? Being a bad man. So it was really cool to talk with him and hear his story and just hear everything. Big Daddy Kane was just recently on, being able to talk with him about the rap game, how he met Jay-Z before Jay-Z became, Jay-Z.
Wild Wild West.
Yeah. Huh?
Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West.
Big Daddy Kane, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wild Wild West.
Oh, okay. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, Jay-Z,
I'm
where?
completely lost. So
I'm like, Will Smith, Wild Wild West? There was a little bit of, it's all good. Anyway, so I got to rap with him, talk with him about Jay-Z. I mean, I've had so many different ones, like, one I'll never forget is John Witherspoon, sitting down with him and just talking to him about improvisation and how he steals scenes and why he's able to steal scenes, and the famous scene from Boomerang with Coordinate and all that, and bam bam, like it's like that's some amazing stuff, real talk. And you're going, where did you come up with this stuff? And him just talking about his times playing tennis with David Letterman, and his relationship with some of the greats out there, while being one of the greats as well. So I mean, there's so many I couldn't even. I don't even know where to begin, to be honest.
So the next question is, how do you get these interviews?
Okay.
Right? Like, what's the secret sauce?
Okay. Okay. So there's a thing that I like to call leapfrog. It's and it doesn't make any sense, but just go with me on this, okay? It makes sense in my mind, all right? Leapfrog. Okay, so at first, maybe I'll have Tyler on. He comes on. Maybe that he is friends with, let's say, Tyler Perry, okay? And so I'm going, all right, I would love to speak to Tyler Perry, but he has a very interesting story as well. So he comes on. He has a great time. We chop it up, blah, blah, blah. He sees that I'm not a terrible human being and that I had a really good conversation with him. Made him look good, type of thing. Then hopefully he might not go, hey, Tyler Perry, but he might go, oh, I got like my 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to Tyler Perry. So it's like, okay, let me get you this next guy. And then the next guy goes, and then you just kind of hop from the next person to the next person, and eventually the word gets out there. When I first started interviewing people and just talking to people, man, I was talking to Joe Blow that owns the donut shop around the corner. I mean, it was just anybody and everybody. And then when people actually saw that, one, that I had a drive and that I had a passion for it, and that I was somewhat okay with it, like a decent at it, they were like, hey, I got somebody for you. And it just slowly, leapfrog up. And, I'm still climbing, I'm still jumping over a lot of frogs, but it's working. And it's been working since I started.
I think it's a great piece of advice. Entrepreneurs are often thinking about, how do I grow my social capital? How do I organically kind of expand the reach of what I'm doing? And I think that idea of the network effect or the leapfrog approach is really good advice. It's a really good strategy.
Yeah.
Some people might be wondering, like, you didn't just wake up one day and have 100,000 subscribers and having an amazing show. Like, I'm sure you started somewhere. So
okay,
talk to us a little bit about where you started and how you got from there to here.
I've had many different versions of this show. It's been the Pascal Show 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. I mean, there's so many different versions of this show. It's been ridiculous. But when I first started, it was a late night show. So, I was wearing a suit, tie, hey, we'll be right back kind of thing. Isn't he great? Look at this guy. He's so funny. We'll be right back. That kind of thing all day. I did that for about 2 years. And the show was called Late Night with Pascal. So right off the bat, I was doing that. But even before I was doing anything in front of the camera, before I was interviewing anybody, I was a shooter. I shot and directed music videos, wrote and directed a whole bunch of stuff, edited the whole nine. I was really, I was behind the camera. I was just the dude going, okay, action and cut. And, well, I need you to do a little bit more of this. And, you need to, this is a better angle and all that stuff. But I realized that was not my bliss. That was not my personal happiness. And after doing many years of doing that, shooting movies, commercials, short films, the whole nine, a friend of mine was like, well, you put up all these skits and you're pretty funny. Have you ever thought about, he's like, I've seen your interviews and they're just free flowing and fun. Have you ever thought about turning this into a show, like packaging all of it into a show. And after 3 years of thinking about it, I finally, turned to my friends and turned to my girlfriend and said, hey, I got this idea about doing this thing. And they all said, you should have been doing this 3 years ago. So the late night show was created, and then was doing that for a while. But then I kept on hitting all these walls. Like, I had the late night show. It was shot in a bar, and we were shooting there once a week, the whole nine. I had a full 12-piece band called The Fix, one of the baddest bands in St. Louis. But anyway, we were doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden one day I walk to the door, try to open the doors, and the doors are locked, and the bar was closed. So I had to change it up. I had to quickly change it up. I had to take some time off to figure things out. But then I was able to do it, but I was hopping around. I was just going to bar to bar to bar, just trying to find some permanent, like a puppy trying to find a forever home. And no luck, no dice whatsoever. So I was doing that for a while. And then after 2 years of doing that, I got a phone call asking me if I'm interested in hosting a radio show. Mm-hmm. And so I said, hail to the yeah. So I went over there, started doing that. And it took a minute to get used to this new version. Because I was used to, isn't he great? We'll be right back all the time. I was used to being the person saying, I'm used to being the person just tossing the attention to the guest that I have rather than be the attention. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It was like as if, once again, I was just behind the camera. I could have just been directing the stuff myself, But it finally, when I realized that the power of the voice was so big, was when I started doing radio. And that version, this new version of the show has been, an absolute godsend. So yeah, long story, very long story short, so I apologize for that. But I had to go through several different variations to find the thing that I feel like is going to be the thing for a good long time.
I think this idea of constantly evolving and reinvention is
never
innovation.
giving up.
Yeah, it's also iteration, though. You have to find your fit.
Yeah.
You need to find your niche. But my question, I think, before we go to our fun lightning round is, why did you wait 3 years? What was stopping you?
Just like it took me 3 years to figure out that just me is enough. Just fear. It was just straight up fear. I didn't think I was good enough. I had other people as well that were telling me that, nah, man, you're going to do what? You're doing just fine behind the camera because you make me look good. So I need you to stay behind the camera making me look good. Mm-hmm. And I realized that they were only hindering me. They were only holding me back. And I was holding back on finding my true full potential of myself. And also, even when I went into the late night thing and I was just hosting and just doing a host thing, yeah, I looked sharp. It was great. But at the same time, I wasn't being my true authentic self. It wasn't until after doing all those interviews, all those conversations, that it led me to get the radio show. For me to actually go, wait, you know what? Me talking is just fine. I shouldn't be afraid of just being me on the radio or on a microphone or in front of the camera. I should be proud of who I am because I'm unique. So it took a minute for me to really find my true authentic self. But I found it through just yapping on the microphone. And for some weird reason, people like hearing it. I don't know. I don't get it. I think there's some weird Haitian voodoo thing that's going on through my voice. I don't know what it is, but it seems to be working. And yeah, it took a minute, but I've come to terms with it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that the greatest enemy to fear is our self-awareness.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's what leads us straight to our authenticity.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that story.
No problem. One thing I'll say though really quick before we do whatever it is that we're going to be doing, because I don't know what's going on.
You don't want to know.
Oh, great.
It's going to be fun.
That sounds like fun. But one thing that I noticed is that I was always sitting there going like, I'm listening to all these tapes. I'm listening to Steve Harvey. I'm listening, you know what I mean? Just jump off and you'll fly. And I was sitting there going, but I already jumped. I already jumped off. Why ain't I flying? I'm still just falling. What's going on? I took the leap. I've been taking the leap for 3 years doing this hosting thing, But I feel like there's also opportunities that weren't in front of me at that time, and I was waiting for those opportunities in a way to actually present themselves. Because sometimes you can't force an opportunity to happen; it just has to almost fall in your lap. And that's when that happened. That's when I was like, "Oh wow, okay. Wow, okay." And even so now, more than ever, because of Rona, I have realized that I'm even more than enough than ever before. Because it made me, it's weird for me to say thank God for Rona. I'll say it anyway. But it made me take those lemons and turn them into lemonade and realize that I make a damn good lemonade. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay with this lemonade. I will drink this all day. That's fine. Because I found something. I found me.
I mean, I'm just going to let that sit right there.
Awkward pause.
No, walk off the stage.
Or a pause to let it sink in, because it is truly a blessing to find yourself.
Yeah.
And also to have clarity around your purpose.
Yeah.
So that's a good place to be in.
Next step.
The next Oprah.
Is acceleration. But for us here,
what
it's
the hell are we doing now,
round.
man?
It's the
I thought we were talking.
round.
I just dropped the mic, man. I should have been like Crenshaw, mother lovers, and walked off the damn stage. What's going on now? You gonna make me look like a fool?
No, these are some questions that we call it the lightning round.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't be prepared for
That's
it.
original.
Of course not.
Original.
Of course not. But this is tag team stuff. It's not
Serendipity.
fair.
Chance.
Thank God I drank some coffee. Keep me.
But except for Tyler, this is my pet peeve with Tyler. He tries to like cheat.
I've had the same cards all day. I'm trying to find something new.
Okay, keep it fresh. No, come on, baby.
He
Come
tries
on,
to cheat
come on
fate
with it.
by like. Let me just start off.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you gonna reword
Ooh.
it? Are you gonna make it
See,
sound
this is what happens when
flowery
you
and
don't
stuff?
cheat.
Are you gonna reword it and make it all flowery?
I'm just gonna
and
read
stuff?
what's on the card.
I was expecting you to do that.
Okay.
though.
So, what was your childhood dream?
Next Bruce Lee.
Why?
Because he was a badass.
He was pretty cool.
Do I need to say more? I wanted to be Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Lee, and everything combined. I just loved the martial arts movies. I was one of those kids that was in Taekwondo,
The Mortal Kombat.
I wasn't a big video game kid. I wanted to do gymnastics. I wanted to do, Taekwondo. I was I was one of those physical kids. I was climbing trees and biking outside and all that stuff. I kept myself really busy.
What does success look like to you?
Wow. What success looks like to me, on a selfish level, one really nice ride, some tailored suits, me and my loved ones not wanting for nothing, and being able to vacation anytime I want, if I want to. Like, just go buy tickets to Paris anytime I want type of thing. Last minute type. You know how expensive those can be. Come on now.
First class?
First class. Executive, what was it? Executive?
Platinum.
Platinum. There we go. Executive platinum. Nothing but just lobster and steak dinners on a plane. So, no, on some real stuff, yeah. Tailored suits, really nice ride. My kids going to good schools. And be able to pick up and go out of town anytime I wanted.
So freedom.
Freedom. Oh, wait, sorry. Freedom. America. I'm sorry. Anyway.
And now you can drop the mic.
Yes.
But before you do, how can people get in touch with you? How can they subscribe? Where do they find the Pascal Show?
Okay, so to get in contact with me, you can go to, you can find me on YouTube. That's youtube.com/The Pascal Show. You can also find me on Instagram. That's The Pascal Show. Twitter, The Pascal Show. And Facebook, The Pascal Show. Yeah, that's it.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Pascal, thank you.
Thank you.
This was fun.
It was fun.
This was a good conversation. Thanks for coming.
Anytime.
Thank you for listening to Innovation City. If you like this episode, you can find more episodes at innovationcity.co or anywhere where you watch or listen to podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and we'll see you next week.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to